very much. Are we all here? Good morning. Good morning. Everybody's here. It appears that the gang is all here, and in light of that, we will turn it over to our city clerk.
This is the pre-meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, April 27th, and we have approval of minutes from April the 20th. We have a monthly finance report this morning also. Okay. No, not, yeah. Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on May the 20th from 5 to 8:30 in Cooper Riverside Park. May 1st from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. on Gentilly Drive North. May 7th through the 8th from 2 to 10 on Gentilly Drive North. September 12th from 1:30 to 5:30 in Langen Park. May 1st from 1 p.m. until 10 p.m. the grounds. Public hearings, today is the public hearing to declare the structure at 960 Bernice Hudson Drive a public nuisance and order it demolished, and 1504 Terrell Road a public nuisance and order it demolished. Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Sabrina Mass regarding citizens' concerns about the MPD incident involving the young black male and MPD officer. Wesley Young regarding issues and concerns of the Mobile Public Service workers. Reggie Hill regarding disbursement of city resources, how this action impacts quality of life, citizen morale, and public safety. Also concerns about Public Works Department.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Gregory?
did Mr. Young have anything specific on the Public Works Department? Because that's just kind of a broad.
No.
Okay, so I'm guessing Colonel DeLappy will be here, and if any, to be able to answer, because you don't know what he's asking about either? Okay, I mean, we have asked before if we could get more specific when people call in and they just give us some sort of a general, I just want to talk about Public Works, or I just want to talk about public safety sort of a thing. If we could get some more specific issues and questions and things, therefore, I think everyone would be better prepared to answer questions when they come, if we could do that.
Mr. President?
A lot of times, I do ask them when I get these, when I approve the agenda, and they don't have specific questions, and so at that point, what am I to do?
What I talked about.
Yeah.
I understand. I agree.
We'd have to change the form, because the form says it's specific that they have to give, oh, I'm sorry. It says the subject must be completed. Specific questions does not say must be completed, so do we want to instruct the staff that must be completed, so that we get a breakdown? I think that's fair.
So maybe we should put specific questions / concerns, because a lot of times
Yes.
they don't have questions, they just may want to express themselves.
Right.
True, yeah.
But
if there is,
to
yeah.
drill it down,
Yeah.
I think is important, because they only have 3 minutes, and we want to be able to answer directly what they want to say.
You know, as best as possible.
Might not be able
And
to,
if it's
but-
just some sort of a general term, we don't know.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful to everybody if they would, if they have questions, if they would go ahead and state what the questions are, so that the administration or we can be prepared to answer them.
But if it's 3 minutes of just giving their concerns, then we're listening.
Yeah,
up
right.
here, and so is the staff. They don't have to respond.
Right, right.
Mr. President,
Mr. Vice President,
we need to also make sure that we do have at least the chief of staff or the public safety director here, because I see what Ms. Mass has signed up about something that we don't have no knowledge of, and maybe they can address her, and et cetera. So we need to make sure that someone be here to address her also.
yes, sir.
Resolutions held over. 21288, authorized contract with Professional Fire Protection Services for fire sprinkler and backflow preventer repairs at various city facilities. 21289, authorized contract with Tyndall Construction for Hertel Street Armory wall and window repairs. 21290, authorized performance contract with Society Mobile La Habana for publication of a joint bilingual book documenting the shared histories of the two cities. 21290, authorized contract with Moffitt and Nichol for development services Mobile Riverfront Development Project. 23292, accept deeds for right-of-way for the McGregor Avenue widening project. 6294, agree to offer undeveloped acres along Shelton Beach Road extension for sale. 6296, approve settlement agreement and release of claims. 6300, 301 are approving settlement agreement, release of claims. 21302, authorized performance contract with the USA Health Mitchell Cancer Institute. Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time. 37303, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a restaurant retail liquor license for Villa Del Rey Casino Mexicana on DeRue Drive. 4304, 305 are declaring the structures public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 6306, determine an appropriation to the Mobile Symphony Orchestra serves a public purpose and approve payment. 6307, approve award a special bonus to the March Firefighter of the Month. CIP resolutions being introduced for the first time. 21308, authorized contract with James Adams and Son Construction Company for 2019 CIP Drainage Group F.
Excuse me.
$229,444.
I have some questions on that.
Ms.
And
Rich?
thank you. And it might be in the paperwork. Can we have a breakdown of exactly which programs this will address? I have, but I don't know whether. What page is it on then? I'll just. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson,
I have a concern about the DBEs. I saw no DBE. And they got WBEs, and MBEs, and CDEs, and everything but a DBE.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kidd, if you could, let's come on to the mic so that we all might be able to hear what you would be sharing with us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
M&B/Bennett Construction are under review right now for their DBE certification through the Department of Transportation. So hopefully within the week, we will have their certification.
Sounds good to me. Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
on many of the construction contracts, they call all entities in to make sure that plumbing is satisfied, electrical is satisfied, and they go right on down the line. And if any one of them is not satisfied, it doesn't come on the council's agenda until all of them are satisfied. I think with the DBEs, if we don't have a DBE, I don't think it should not even appear on our contract. It's the law.
No, it's not.
It's in our law. Unless there is, out of the 200 and some contractors signed up with the city, none of them can perform the work, then they need to go find whoever can perform the work to let them do it. But if you have a certified DBE, we ought not to be over there trying to get no SBE, LBE, and a PPE.
So in our 1 o'clock discussion today, I will explain some of that and how that works. With the amount of federal funding that we receive, each federal program has a different criteria.
Right.
Our Department of Transportation has DBE. When you go with HUD, there's Section 3, of which those Section 3 businesses are those that fit the HUD guidelines with the low to moderate income. A DBE has to be both socially and economically. It's not just that they're a minority-owned business.
Right.
It's not just that they are a woman-owned business, but they have to show that they are both socially and economically disadvantaged. A MBE is just that, a minority-owned business. A WBE is just that, a woman-owned business. However, there are certification criteria that they have to meet in order to receive those designations. If you see a WBE, that means they have not been certified by any organization, whether it be federal, state, or what have you. If it is an MBE, that means they have not been certified by any organization, whether it be federal, state, or what have you. If it is a WBC, that means that they have gone through a certification criteria and met what they're supposed to meet in order to be a certified woman-owned business. As well as the MBEs, it will state MBC, which means that they have gone through a certification process and received those designations and criteria. With the amount of federal funding that we are receiving right now, different areas are gonna mean different things. We do have projects that cross guidelines. So you may have a project that's being funded with DOT funds, with city funds, and sometimes it may be another grant funding that's coming within those projects. So I'm basing these off of the type of funding, and you will see some that may have waivers for some of the smaller projects based on what the job is, what it entails, the availability to DBEs for that particular project, and whether or not they can bid as a prime or as a sub. So if you see a waiver included in your packet, that's because I have gone through the project, I vetted whether or not we have been able to solicit to DBE primes, or if there is an opportunity for a sub within that project. Any questions?
No, good job.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Vice President.
Ms. Kidd, thank you so much. You clarified and cleared a whole lot of things up for me, stuff I did not know. Is it possible that this afternoon, if you really can just give us the definition of like what is social, disadvantage, just the definition of each one, what we can actually know? Because I'll be honest with you, when you said, if they're Chinese, I just thought they clarified it as a DBE. I did not know that, also you got to add social, economics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you can just give us a definition this afternoon of what is, what entails of each category, that would be great. Everything. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson.
I would go further to say, if it's a project that requires a DBE, that your office, somebody ought to put on this agenda, certified, that you all have certified that this project has met all criteria. Other words, when we see all those WB, we don't know whether they've been certified or not. You all got to tell us, so we don't need to be hunting and fishing, trying to figure out. You all ought to say, because you all have looked at these things and you have bounced them against the criteria, and you can say certified. I'm not looking anymore. If you say they're certified, I'm not trying to find nothing else. If they're not certified, I'm voting no. That's just the way it is.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Mr. Williams.
we do talk about this quite often, and I think it's important to remind everyone that our DBE ordinance requires best effort. It does not require 15%. That is not the law. It does not require it. It requires that best effort be made to achieve that 15%. This is very important, and we'll hear about it again at 1 o'clock. There are others, as Ms. Kidd pointed out, these grants and other federal programs that do require, and they're very clear. I would just, as we talk this afternoon, I hope that we can come to an agreement that everything that does hit our agenda meets the requirements and is in line with our ordinance. Once it clears your signature, I don't need any more. We simply have been well served by your office, and thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Mr. Richardson and then Ms. Stimpson.
Mr. President, the purpose of the DBE being a part of our law is to make sure that the tax money that we collect and that we allot to other people does not all go to the rich. These disadvantaged contractors who might be a sole contractor, they're not able to come up with all of these bonds and insurance and all of that, but they can be a subcontractor. That 15% of that contract will go to a DBE. A best effort means I've done my best to get the 15%, and I can't find nobody to meet the qualification, so I'm moving on. I said move on. But if there, out of the 200 people certified on the list, if somebody is on that list qualified to perform it, ain't no such thing as no best effort. If you have somebody on that list qualified to do the job, best effort means I have looked high and low, and I can't find nobody to perform this work. I said, move on, brother or sister. But until you have done that, best effort means nothing to me. Best effort means you have tried and you can't find a contractor, a disadvantaged contractor, to perform this work. And I said, move on. But if one is out there, I say, halt. That's what I say about that.
Ms. Stimpson. Oh, pardon me, Mr. Daves.
And Mr. President, I would just like to remind everyone that our ordinance directs that we use best efforts to direct 15% of the city's business to economically and socially disadvantaged businesses. It doesn't say DBE, it doesn't say WBE, it doesn't say any BE. It says economically and socially disadvantaged businesses. Now, federal government may have other requirements, the state, I don't know about them. But the city of Mobile requirement is economically or socially disadvantaged. Thank you.
See you at the meeting.
Thanks, Archanick, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
See you at 1 o'clock. I think our discussion at 1 o'clock is certainly well timed.
Resolution is being introduced for the first time, 01309, authorized intergovernmental agreement with Mobile County for use of the Civic Center for court activity. 01310, authorized intergovernmental agreement with Mobile County regarding Africatown Heritage House. 08311, approved purchase order to Gray Shift for mobile device forensic software annual licenses renewal, $38,602.79. 08312, approved purchase order to Jerry Pate Turf and Irrigation for 2 club car utility vehicles, $21,088.40. 08313, approved purchase order to Gray Bar Electric for 50 LED roadway luminaries, $42,995. 08314 and 315 are approving purchase order to Stevens Ford Lincoln for 3 Ford Explorers, $79,197, and 2 Ford 4x4 pickups, $65,244. 08316, approved purchase orders to Davidson Oil and Petroleum Traders Corporation for fuel for city vehicles. 08317, approved item-based bid for commercial kitchen equipment. 21318, authorized contract with Sanders Highland Corporation for Fire Station Number 6, bathroom floor replacement, $16,461. 21319, authorized contract with Harris Contracting for Mardi Gras Park improvements, $1,055,000.
Ashenique, do we have a DBE for this? Have $1 million here. Uh, 21,319.
Harris has a certified DBE Davis Construction with 1% for concrete. He has a certified woman-owned business, Mayor Electric, which they will provide materials for the electrical with 6%. And Ram 2, who is a certified WBE with 6%, also providing material. HCL has not been, they are a woman-owned business, but has not been certified. And they have 3%.
When you say certified woman-owned business, are you telling the council that it's also a disadvantaged business?
No, sir. They are a certified woman-owned business, which means it is owned, controlled, and operated by a woman.
Not disadvantaged.
Correct.
Again, it's just another way to get the money away from contractors, disadvantaged contractors. The law is set up for those disadvantaged contractors to have part of the contract, and it's a way to circumvent that. Come up with another classification so the money would go anywhere but to these disadvantaged contractors. And I'm sending the word out now. Let the word go forth from the mountain to the valley. I'm voting no.
So let me make one point of clarity, Mr. President.
Mr. Woods?
Number one is 650,000 of these dollars are coming from private funds. This is not all city dollars. That makes this one a little bit different. And then two, when you're dealing with women-owned businesses, when we're looking at diversity, equity, inclusion from a city standpoint, you have to understand that women, by very nature of being women-owned businesses, under the federal guidelines, are disadvantaged. So Ms. Kidd has done a fantastic job explaining so many things in a very short time. Let us expound on these things at 1 o'clock, just so we can go through. She's prepared to do that. But I wanted to make that point just so there wasn't any confusion. One is the 650 is coming out of private funds, and two, that when we look at diversity, equity, and inclusion, we include women because by very nature and history, they're disadvantaged when they own businesses. So we can talk about it more at 1, but I just wanted to do that. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Williams?
just remind everyone that, especially my colleagues, that part of our backup documentation, usually in the latter part of the document, in this case, page 24 out of 30, 25 and 26, talk about very specifically how the DBE has been pursued. So maybe I'll save some time in the future by reading the subcontractor supplier plan. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Gregory?
I do want to thank Archanique for everything you're doing. A terrific job, and thank you for explaining that, and we all look forward to hearing from you again this afternoon. One thing I know we have talked about in the past is certified or certification versus businesses who are not necessarily certified and whether they can still do the work. And we probably need to talk about that again too, as well as what you all are doing to try to help various businesses become certified. Because I know there were some roadblocks for some of the businesses that, that we are currently using to do some work in the city. So that's just a topic, if you'll address later this afternoon. Thanks.
If I could comment?
Ms. Rich?
Thank you. This is private dollars and city dollars. It doesn't involve any federal dollars, so a woman-owned business that might not be certified as economically depressed makes the diversity clause. I mean, women were left out of the equation for years to be able to bid, or they didn't even have a resource that allowed them to bid on projects. So diversity is very important, and that includes adding women to that mix. And this one meets the criteria, and it was in our packet. And I know we always get emails when it's missing prior to our meeting that then from Archanique that gives us the breakdown. So we are well armored with that information. Philosophically, to exclude women from a diversity standpoint makes no sense. So, I mean, I'm certainly going to champion that arm of the contract, and I'm glad that women have stepped up to the plate and doing such. Very proud of that.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
there are rich women, there are rich African Americans, there are rich Native Americans, meaning they are not disadvantaged. It means how much, what you're worth determine whether you're a disadvantage or not your gender. Your worth, your net worth will determine whether or not you meet the criteria, not your gender. She said that while she was up here. And I want to ask the finance officer a question. On this project, did a private entity give the City of Mobile some funds for a specific project? On this million, did a private entity give the City of Mobile for the Mardi Gras Park? Was there a private entity who donated money to the City of Mobile for the project?
So
Hello?
I can answer that question. So on this particular project,
No, sir. I want finance.
You
I can answer that question,
I
Mr.
don't
President.
I don't want you. I want finance. I want somebody from the finance department. This is a financial matter. We got qualified people here from the finance
You can't
department,
direct it.
and I want somebody from the finance department to answer this.
Mr. Richardson, you've made an inquiry, and the administration is attempting to provide you with the best answer to your inquiry as possible. If you could, let's hear the response to your question.
Mr. President, I qualified my question.
Yes, sir.
I said, I want somebody from the finance to answer this. I qualified that before I asked it.
Can't direct
if I hadn't said that, then I agree with you. I qualified that. I said, I want somebody
Chris?
from the finance department to answer that. And I'm looking at finance people sitting in here, got the finance director sitting over here.
I believe
Okay.
he's gesturing to
Now,
answer.
good thing is a candidate.
But then that's who I want to answer.
Okay, all right. For this particular project, the city is upfronting the money at $650,000, and then it will be refunded to the city over the course of the next 5 years by the donor.
The donor to date has not given the city one dime. It's what you're
That's
telling me?
correct. That's correct.
This is city money, and it meets the criteria.
So-
We don't have no private funds up here.
Mr. President, that's why I wanted to answer the question. So let me qualify something, and Mr. Richardson, I understand that he's asking. So from a historical context, that's why I wanted to ask the question. You have to look at what project this actually is. You're looking at Mardi Gras Park. The initial funds for Mardi Gras Park came from a private donor. So that's how we started out. We haven't received the money yet, it's a contractual matter, but we will receive those funds. So the reason that I was answering that question is because you wouldn't have finance in the loop on funds you haven't received just yet. They don't have custody and control of the funds just yet. So we're expending city funds to be paid back through an agreement, and that's what's before you today, which is why I wanted to answer the question. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
in formulating the Constitution, they told us we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and we're still hunting that. So I want to ask our own attorney, since the money we're using is all city money, do you believe, in your legal opinion, that it ought to, it qualifies to have a DBE on this project?
It should comply with the ordinance, but the ordinance doesn't require a DBE. It's socially and economically disadvantaged, and under 49 CFR Part 26 of federal law, women are considered disadvantaged. Now, there's a rebuttable presumption that they aren't, so if Martha Stewart bids on it, then, you know, everybody knows she's rich, but somebody would have to prove otherwise that the person is not disadvantaged.
Right, but if you show us your net worth, and it shows you're not disadvantaged, I said move on. But if it shows that you're rich, you shouldn't be able to go.
Well, I think on the rebuttable presumption, somebody has got to prove otherwise. I don't
Right.
know that the lady has to prove it herself, but
I agree.
there's 16% of that, and the other contract had subcontractors that were 16 or 17% as well.
All right, Mr. President.
Again, all this lends to why we need the discussion at 1 o'clock. And I'm hopeful that each and every one of us will avail ourselves of our calendars and our schedules to be here. This is a timely subject, and it's not going away. It's a matter that we get questioned and inquired about in the community week in and week out relative to what level of progress are we making in this regard. So it will be interesting to see and hear what numbers, what facts we're able to ascertain at 1 o'clock, but also to get a better grasp of these definitions and these acronyms so that we all have a better appreciation of what's before us and what the best effort has been deployed in each agenda item. This is by no stretch a detraction against Ms. Kidd. She's done an absolute outstanding job in some very contentious times with this subject matter, and we applaud her and her work and hope that it will continue, and we will continue to make progress here at the City of Mobile.
Mr. President, if I could make a 30-second comment, please.
Sure, Mr. Williams.
I think it's important that the facts are laid out, and we often use the Department of Transportation and other entities to certify, to trust their certification in DBE. And the rich that Mr. Richardson is talking about is, by Department of Transportation standards, not to exceed personal wealth of $1.32 million, or a gross receipts within their business of $23.98 million. And so I just think it's important to point it out, and I look forward to talking about those things at one. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Mr. Daves.
I mean, every time this comes up, we plow ground that has been plowed 7 times before. What the ordinance requires is that the city of Mobile use its best efforts to direct 15% of its business to economically or socially disadvantaged businesses. Mr. Arledge has pointed out that under federal regulations, women-owned businesses are, what was it, socially disadvantaged or socially disadvantaged businesses. He also points out that it's a rebuttable, that the fact that it's woman-owned, now correct me if I say this wrong, that the fact that a business that is woman-owned is disadvantaged is a rebuttable presumption. But that doesn't mean that the woman has to come in and prove. That means that the person who's objecting to it has to prove that she's rich. Let's just say she's rich at this particular stand. So, you know, we're living, as far as I can tell, under our own ordinances and under applicable federal and state direction. And I want to thank Ms. Kidd for the work she's done in taking us from where we were 6 or 7 years ago to where we are today, which is a giant leap forward. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson.
since we're at the end of the agenda, I would say socially disadvantaged could mean that Fred Richardson is unable to join the Mobile Country Club. I could be rich. Has nothing to do with disadvantage. I could be rich and they won't let me in. That's what socially disadvantaged means. Has nothing to do with their worth. Our law is aimed at those people who is economically at a disadvantage, getting a portion of the contract. You can't come up and tell me about I'm socially disadvantaged. You could be rich and socially disadvantaged. That's what it was saying. The women been excluded for years for a lot of things. Doesn't mean that they're not rich. The net worth.
Ma'am Secretary.
21320, authorized service contract with Morrow Contracting, doing business as Advanced Service Plus Plumbing Company for plumbing services at various city facilities, $100,000. 21321, authorized contract with E. Cornell Malone Corporation for History Museum of Mobile re-roofing, $482,490. Announcements.
Announcements.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Yes, sir. Mr. Daves.
Although I don't think it takes any reminding, we will have a Finance Committee meeting this afternoon
That's right.
in order to go over this ground once again. And at that Finance Committee meeting, we will also hear from Mr. Holt and his staff on where we are with respect to the federal COVID support that we expect to receive and what, if any, additional guidance we've received on how that money can be spent. That's at 1 o'clock in this room. Thank you.
Any further announcements from members of the council? Any from Mr. Mayor or your administration?
Great to be back.
If not, we will see each other at 10:30.
It's great to be back.
Thank all of you.
Man, I used to get a lot more coffee in me during that meeting. Feed my dog, all that.